Okay. I wanted to talk about what's out there and what's the difference between what the Lord gives and what the enemy tries to give. Which is, the enemy doesn't actually give anything. He steals. And in fact, he has nothing to offer you. Absolutely zero. The only thing he has is lies. That's what his arsenal is filled with. Absolutely nothing but lies. Those lies are meant to rob you. And they rob you of what the Lord gave you. And what he gives you in substitute is a lie, which is fake and doesn't really exist. Or somehow someone else is covering it, which is stolen from them. Anyways, and since I like to talk about the whole trying to be pure or clean or not screwing up, which I've had a hard time not bashing myself, because you still have that flesh that sits there and wants to bash you for every screw up. And then of course the self can. Anyways, there is definitely a fire, and I don't know where it's at. It's a real... Anyways, there's definitely a fire out here somewhere. I don't know where it's from. But, I mentioned it, I'm sure, in a different video, about the Lord giving me an image of a fish banging his head up against the tank for a worm on a hook on the other side of the glass. And he gave me that picture when I looked at a picture of a woman in lingerie at the mall. And you know what? I am still happy to this day he gave me that image, because it gave such an awesome reality picture of what's going on. When you look at pornographics, when you look at pictures of naked women, and you turn around, run with that magazine into the bathroom to go wank yourself, you are literally taking that over your wife, or your future wife, or bride. You're actually losing your urge to even going looking for a woman. You're basically not only robbing yourself, but you're also robbing your future wife. But it's not even you that's doing it. It's actually an addiction for something that was used to cover up certain pains from somewhere else. A lot of time, usually, rejection. And it can be other things. And it can be sitting there and actually just... It could be a lot of things. And some people will have their areas more than others. But you can't sit down and condemn yourself for it. And you can't condemn these people for these addictions. The only thing you can do is try to help them out of it. But anyways, we got different areas we can go for the self-help, and later on in some other videos. But right now, I'm covering a different aspect. I'm covering the aspect of fake. And we are literally at that point. I mean, you look at that and understand that you are literally trading and settling for your hand and a picture image rather than sleeping and touching a real woman. I mean, honestly, how gypped do you want to be? I mean, a woman's nice. It's nice to be with a woman. It really is. It's a whole lot nicer. Daddy God, thank you so much for making women. Thanks for making their butts so attractive. Thank you for giving them nice curves. Thank you for making them feel really good. But you know what? There's also the aspect of when you actually sleep with a woman, you're actually connecting with her. And you know what? When you actually get to see even past just the body, and you can actually see her for who she is, it's going to be a whole lot better than any freaking pornographic image you've ever looked at. Anyway, but the point is you wouldn't even get that if the enemy had his way. He would always be sitting there looking at with your head stuck, plastered into a magazine. Actually, if he had his way, he would literally be putting glue. In fact, he is trying to put spiritual glue with your face on that magazine and your glue stick all over your hand first before slapping your hand and then strapping a chain around your hand and your dick. Sorry, that might be graphic. And that's probably not what you're used to on a video on the so-quote Christian line. Anyways, actually, that was actually really good when my friend, when Bill, or not Bill, but Bob Johnson, basically stated how Christians, the name Christian is a cuss word. And that was actually started by people to name people that were following Jesus and God. And they were actually calling them Christian in the sense of a cuss word and to label them. So I would agree with that, actually, because before I came back to Daddy God, and when I came back to Daddy God, I had a real hard time admitting that I was Christian. It's just saying Christian feels like a cuss word to begin with. I would say I love my Jesus, and I follow Jesus, and he's my daddy, but I certainly did not want to say I was Christian. And it still feels a little weird. But he's still my daddy. He'll always be my daddy. And I'm happy to have him as a daddy. And he's an awesome daddy. I mean, I always was saying, if I have him, I have everything. If I don't have him, I have nothing. And it wasn't just said, because that is literal. If I don't have him, I don't have anything. I really don't. And it's, you know, it's like a lot of people don't understand when you actually do come to him and you actually do have faith and he turns around and he shows up, you're going to actually realize, oh crap, not only are you real, but you actually talk. Not only are you real, but you actually are like there. You want to talk and have a conversation. Yeah, crap, you're actually a real living being talking to me. I mean, spiritual eyes are awesome, and you do get to see when he lets you see. You'll actually be able to see angels, unfortunately. The others, things, nasty, creepy. Anyway, I like seeing angels so much more. They're so much prettier. I never want to see one of those other ugly faces again, but unfortunately, I've seen more of those ugly faces. I miss Crystal Clear. She was awesome. She's this little tiny, she's really, anyways, just about the knee height or so. She's really short. She's kind of got this slenderish face. I miss her. Anyways, around the beginning of my trials and stuff, or my fighting, I actually used to hold her hand a lot with Jesus. There's at times that I could actually get to hold Jesus' hand. So I actually originally started out trying to hold her hand. And I always begged for Jesus to come around me and cover me and protect me and hold me. And, you know, it's really awesome when you actually feel his embrace. And, you know, this stuff isn't trivial. It's not trivial. It's true. Anyways, I got off subject. I'm sorry. I really got off subject. I got majorly off subject. Anyways, so I was talking about fake, settling for fake. What do you have? Well, nothing. Okay, so, I don't know if anyone actually knows how the money system works. A lot of people don't actually realize, without actually valuing something in the currency world, it isn't worth anything. So basically, if one guy actually doesn't value currency or money, well, that's just one man, right? But what if that man grew to two men? Still wouldn't cause any real major problem to the economy. I mean, it'd probably cause a whole lot more problems to him. And a lot more inconvenience. Say we go to 100, it's probably still close to the same. But in some area, something is starting to feel it. Let's say it's 1,000. Well, that 1,000's definitely starting to be felt. Somewhere in the line is starting to be felt. You know, there are certain companies that have seen them a lot, and they're suddenly not showing up because they don't value the dollar, or they don't value the ruby, or whatever, the ruble, or the basically yen or whatever. Basically the paper money that isn't even actually real anyway. I mean, it really isn't. If you knew how it worked, you would actually realize, oh crap. The only reason why it's worth anything is because we literally accept it as being worth something. If we didn't, it wouldn't be worth anything. It wouldn't work at all. It is literally the aspect of trust, on the sense that you could take this dollar, go and give it to this guy over here for some goods, and he only accepts it because he knows he can take that same bill and go spend it on the goods that he needs, or to keep his company going, or pay his workers. If it didn't have that, and those workers did not believe it was worth anything, or didn't want it, and didn't accept it, and didn't value it, well, it's as good as something to dump on the fire and light. Something to start your fire with. But that's literally what it is. Or actually trade our aspects, or anyways, basically, to get your assets, something that's actual material, or get you to labor for it. Something to get you to work for it. Anyways, that's it right there, right? Anyway, so basically, you're settling for something that isn't real. I mean, for a moment there, it might take care of you. For a moment there, as long as someone else is buying into it, it'll help you. But other than that, it doesn't mean it's real. It only is temporary, and eventually, it's gone. So, anyway, I want to give a whole lot better aspects and seeing in what's actually real in certain areas of where we're actually settling for something that isn't real. And you know what? We settle for false realities all the time too. There was a really awesome story. Actually, it's actually in one of my videos of a guy or a judge judging. Basically, this criminal comes in and he has all the deputies that were all women, all their weapons removed. None of them were allowed to have guns at all, and not even he, the judge, would allow himself to have a gun. But this guy that they were having there was basically a major killer, and instead of having anything to actually protect themselves, he turns around and puts them all in danger. Not only the people that are in there and himself, but in the reality, if the guy actually wanted to try to do something, well, they didn't have any ways or means to actually stop him other than their hands, and expecting to straight out overpower him. Basically, he was putting the people in danger. This is actually a real story. He was putting literally everyone in that courtroom in danger out of a false reality. The reality is, if the guy chose to actually do something, he stripped anyone's ability to protect themselves or be protected. I mean, that's not a reality. That's not a reality at all, especially in the capital of murders. That's just ridiculous. But that is more of an illustration of reality. What is the real reality? And if you guys actually get to know Daddy God, or do know Daddy God, I've heard people that do actually know Daddy God actually, so I can't really say that. But actually talking about how the Lord will have you do certain things that don't make any sense, or ask you to do things that don't make any sense. Such as talking about the guy that turns around and goes around the thing, and then finally stops and everyone yells, shouts, and blows their horns. That caused the wall to fall down. It didn't make any sense to them. And it might not make sense to people. But in God's reality, it made perfect sense. And that sense was, do you believe that I could actually accomplish this? Do you believe that I can cause these walls to come down? Because all you're doing is turning around, doing that, and you're showing your faith and trusting me that I can do it. And when you actually realize those are the realities of Daddy God, and the reality is everything pointing to trusting Him and believing Him, then a lot of stuff makes perfect sense. I mean, He doesn't doubt that He can do it. He knows He can do it. The question is, do you? So, and that doesn't mean open up a bottle of, okay, I don't have enough faith now, so let's start struggling, find a way to have enough faith. Let's try working, try our darnest to believe. Do you know what that does? That actually causes you not to believe, because now your belief system is based on works, which you're looking at someone that knows exactly that path, because I've walked it and it sucks a lot. So don't go down that route. Go under the aspect that you know that the Lord is still happy with the amount of faith that you have, and the amount of faith you have is what He gave you anyway. He's the perfecter of your faith, not you. Ooh, did I hit a sore spot? Maybe I actually hit a spot that some people needed to hear. That's right. You're not the perfecter of your faith. He is. And that means you got your faith by grace as a gift as well. Can't boast about that either. Lord calls me a man of great faith. Guess what? I didn't earn a penny of it. I just stuck in there with the battles and tried to stay and hold on. But you know what? He's the one that actually gives it to me. And if I can stay away from sitting there and trying to force myself to have faith, which actually causes the opposite, or believing that lie about maybe I don't have enough faith, or wondering if I have enough faith for it, which again robs you of faith. And that's actually worry, which is the opposite of faith, by the way. And worry actually sprouted out of fear, by the way, too. And that's actually only fear, what if I don't have enough faith, which is the worry, which is the lie, and which is the unbelief, and is the doubt. And when you could actually stand on truth and reality of Daddy God's, well, unbelief and doubt makes absolutely no sense at all. Because when you can actually be and walking in that and whole, well, reality down here doesn't make much sense. You'll actually find that his ways are quite opposite. Actually, duty and honor. Ooh. People think that duty and honor is actually awesome. It's not. It's not, because it's again a robbery of. It's actually a robbery of doing something because you want to. It's actually the opposite. If you want to do something, you know what? How about this? I'm giving homework for whoever watches this video. Try not running out and doing everything that you think that the Lord wants you to do, but yourself don't actually want to do. And if He does actually ask you to do something and does want you to do something, tell Him to put it in your heart to want to do it, and don't go for it until He does that. Because I know that sounds messed up to some people, but there is nothing worse than forcing yourself over and over and over again to try and do something that you think the Lord wants you to do, that turns around and causes you to hate Him and have resentment. Because you're saying yes when you really don't want to, which means your answer really is no. But you force yourself to do it anyways. Which is actually not keeping your yeses be yes and your nos be nos. If you do not want to do it, and you really don't want to do it, you need to tell Him that. And if He wants you to do it, tell Him to put it in your heart to actually not only want to do it, but even find a joy in doing it. Because that, you have a right to actually do. Otherwise, you're not getting fruit out of it. You're not getting food out of it. You're actually giving food up. You actually, sometimes, yes, there is those moments where the Lord's going to ask you to do something right off the bat that you might not want to do. That is right there and in that moment and only able to do at that moment. Sometimes it's good to be able to do that. But if your condition is actually requiring you on something you can look more at long term, well, if you don't actually run out to do it, don't beat yourself up. Don't. But you know what? You can ask the Lord for those moments ahead of time to put them in your heart right off the bat, because it's good to actually want to do something for Him and with Him, rather than turning around and doing everything out of sacrifice, which is Old Testament, not New Testament. He was the sacrifice, not me. My sacrifices are literally nothing more than giving up old point of views of Him, which are not labeling Him of His real nature. They're actual bad judgments, like He's a mean, cruel God. That's not very nice. That is very controlling, unwanting, and rejects everybody, basically. And is basically this God pouting about how horrible man is. Now that's really the aspect and a lot of the ratio that we get, that God doesn't even want us, which is that abandonment and that orphan spirit. This is a really long video, isn't it? Almost a half hour long. Wow, I might as well go the last 4 minutes. Anyway, So, anyway, it is actually good to actually want to do something for the Lord because you want to do it. If you keep doing everything out of sacrifice, thinking He wants you to, or this sounds good, and you're basically taking your people pleaser skills and you're putting it to God to be a God pleaser, and you're not actually even being yourself anymore, and you're running tasks for Him and works for Him and everything but ever actually spending any time with Him. I mean, go look back in that area where I think it was Martha, Mary and Martha. One actually spent time with the Lord because she found that it was actually good was actually spending time with Him. And the other one worked and tried to even take the other one away from actually what was good to go and work. And He said He was not going to take it away from her. You know, that's another thing. Don't let your brother and sisters feed you some sort of bull crap that you have to go running out and working and doing all this stuff and prepping up to come to the Lord, or do all these things before He'll accept you or want you. Because all that does is rob you from getting to be near Him. And that's bunk. And that sucks. And you know what? Don't listen to it. Anytime you hear condemnation coming from any direction, and I mean that even by people turning around and saying it might be this spirit or that spirit, or you're partnered with this or you're partnered with that, don't listen to it. Because that's just going to turn around and make you feel rejected and shamed, and like there's something wrong with you. You're doing something wrong. So you're not good enough anymore. So don't listen to it, because that's actually all bullshit. And that's just to put you in works or fear or feeling unaccepted, which He accepts you. Anyways, the video's done. I'm sure I've got like maybe a minute. I'm good. Alright, bye.